Rayman is coming back sooner rather than later, and if the leaks are to be believed, we could have a remake on our hands. Now, I'll go through the leaks in just a second so you know what I'm talking about, but basically I want to introduce this seven-part series where I'm going to go through each game in the mainline series, Raving Rabbids 1 and Rayman M or Arena, depending on where you live, and discuss basically the pros and the cons of each game getting a remake. Now, over the last sort of 12 months, I want to say, there have been a few leaks and rumours that turned into leaks that turned into official confirmations from Ubisoft. So to sum up really quickly, it was leaked a while ago by Insider Gaming that Rayman was not only being worked on as a brand, but that a remake called Project Steambot internally was being worked on. Now, what the remake is of is currently unknown, we just know it's in the Rayman franchise. Ubisoft have since admitted they're working on the brand. They say they're working on a project, but not to expect anything anytime soon. Now, further leaks have been made by Insider Gaming saying there is a remake in the works, and if that does well, then Rayman 4 will happen. Now, I'm basing all of these videos on that assumption. Maybe there's no remake, maybe there is no remake, but assuming there is, because these sources are pretty reliable, let's discuss the pros and cons of each one. This is about the pros and the cons and the fun stuff we want to see, the crappy stuff we don't want to see, what we love about Rayman 1, what we hate about Rayman 3, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's delve into the world of Rayman 1. So Rayman 1 is the first game in the Rayman series franchise conglomeration, and it turns 30 this year. In fact, this month, if I get the videos out on time. Really hope I do. I did plan for these to be every day for a week. So if you are watching this on day one, stay tuned. You should subscribe. That was a good segue. Anyway, Rayman 1, pros and cons. Let's do it. To kick off, right, Rayman 1, it's fitting. It's the original. You know, you're going to reboot the franchise. You're going to remake a game. You remake the original, right? That feels like such a good thing to do. It is the most dated entry, so, you know, it would benefit from modern graphics, smoother controls, quality of life improvements, you know, checkpoints, camera options, things like that. Rayman 1 is famously very difficult, and I think a lot of people might struggle to get into it. I mean, I know I struggle playing Rayman 1, and, you know, I'm a massive Rayman fan. A lot of people who grew up with it don't have such an issue. I didn't really play it till I was a bit older, and I find Rayman 1 to be a pretty difficult video game. So if you did remake Rayman 1, it would be nice if it was a bit easier, or at the very least give us some options, some difficulty options. Now, this is somewhat a con, or at least like a difficulty. I think a lot of Rayman 1's difficulty comes from the platforming, right? Like, the enemies are tricky. A lot of the enemies are very tricky, so more health, fewer enemies. I don't know if you know this, it is a very fun factoid. Rayman 1 had many different versions, often with different enemy placements, varying degrees of like health that you have, different placements of 1-ups, different enemies, different cages, all things like that. So they all vary in difficulty anyway, but the Jaguar version, which I've said on this channel before, being very different and a lot easier in some ways because of the positioning of certain jumps, the sliding mechanics in Bandland and other things like that. So with the Rayman 1 remake, I'd like to kind of see the best of all worlds and see it be challenging, you know, give those original fans something to remember, to feel, you know, oh yeah, that challenge is there, but also, you know, give new players that maybe aren't massive fans of Dark Souls and Hollow Knight and Silksong and all that, a game they can finish. Because right now, Rayman 1 is not a game everyone can finish. The difficulty of Rayman 1 is a big thing, and I do like that it's quite difficult. I just, you know, it's part of the identity of the game. I feel like that might hold it back in a modern environment, you know? So that's one of the biggest things I would want to see in a Rayman 1 remake. Be sure, by the way, to let me know in the comments what you think of the various things I'm saying I do and don't want to see. And also just let me know if I've not said something that you do want to see or you don't want to see. Let me know in the comments. Let's get this going. For nearly a year now, we've sort of known a remake was coming, and has anyone really discussed exactly what they want to see? I don't know. I mean, I am now. But I want to know what other people think, because the Rayman franchise is so varied and the Rayman fanbase is so varied. I want to know. I want to open a discussion. That's the point of this. I want to kind of bring the community together so we can collectively decide that we can't agree on what we want. Now's a good time to mention that there have been some job listings up for the Rayman brand. Now, we don't know exactly what they're making. And if the most recent leak that I mentioned earlier is to be believed, then there is a Rayman remake that leads into the development of Rayman 4 if this remake does well and sells well and makes money and everything, and this is a success, if it's a general success. So given that it's 3D, I do have to wonder, would it be Rayman 1? I have my thoughts, and that's not for this video. I don't really want to go into likelihood or rumours or speculation, but I just wonder if it was 3D, which we seem to think it is, a Rayman 1 remake. If anyone can tell me how to stick these fucking things to my wall, I will kiss you on the forehead. Anyway, yeah, so like a full 3D remake of Rayman 1, you know, every level in 3D, kind of like some of the concept art we saw for the Phoenix Games Rayman 4 before it was cancelled. I would love to see something like that. Just Rayman 1, but 3D. Everything. Bandland, Picture City, everything 3D. Because then what you're getting is a remake of Rayman 1, a reimagining. You're fucking kidding me.
Let me just step right in. Hello, I'm Callum, and to those who don't know me, Rayman 1 is my favourite video game ever. That's not an objective perspective, that is a purely subjective perspective. I understand that this game is by no means perfect. And while I personally would absolutely love a remake of Rayman 1 because I just think the art style transposed into a modern vision, like I imagine something in maybe like a claymation style, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot you could do with it because it has such a fun, bouncy and huge art style that you could really, you know, go crazy with it with a modern perspective and a modern version. I think you could really create a modern vision of this game while also preserving that 90s aesthetic and sound, more specifically, that was so powerful during the original game. For example, the soundtrack, if you listen to certain tracks like In the Blue Mountains, etc., they are just pure 90s goodness, and I wouldn't want to lose that. I think you could even accentuate that further with this and really capture that style and feel. However, there is a key issue, I think, with this game in terms of modernizing it, is it will take a lot more than a fresh coat of paint and some new music to modernize Rayman 1. Look, dozens of people have been over this by now online in various YouTube videos and reviews, but this game is too difficult, and it lacked certain quality testing towards the later half of the game that made some of it feel a bit trial and error and very, very difficult. And the question I then pose is, can you preserve the legacy and the feel of the original Rayman game while also having to make drastic changes to the Rayman game in order to make this remake work? And I don't know if you can do that. And as we saw with the recent leaks, a reimagining of Rayman 1 was originally planned at Ubisoft. I think if we're going to revisit the first Rayman game, that's the way to do it, rather than a remake. Because I think a remake, if you go for a one-for-one remake, people will find it too frustrating, and then if you make changes, some fans may be confused or concerned that it's not the game that they grew up and loved. But hey, what do I know? Rayman Redemption towed that line really, really well in my opinion, so maybe it is possible. But I just don't know if a Rayman 1 remake, when produced by Ubisoft, could really capture the magic of the original without feeling like a completely different game. And I think one of the reasons that Rayman Redemption did so well at this is because it reused the original assets and art style of the original game, so it felt familiar and cozy, and we know that Ubisoft would never ever do that, because they would be focused on making it a showpiece for their Snowdrop engine, so there's no way that they're going to use that pixel art style with a remake of Rayman 1, so I think changing too much, you cross the boundaries from a remake to a reimagining, and I think a one-for-one remake of Rayman 1 might not be the best thing for the franchise right now. So well, yeah, I'd love to see it. I just don't think we're going to get it, as much as it would be really awesome. A 3D reimagining, however, that could be very interesting.
Thanks for that, Callum, for covering while my camera died. Be sure to check out his channel in the description below. But your last point there fits in perfectly with what I was saying when my camera died, and that is a 3D interpretation of Rayman 1. Well, I think it's probably quite unlikely. Imagine. It would be so good. All these worlds and all these levels and all these characters, enemies, boss fights, cages, bonus rooms with the magician, all of that suddenly now in 3D, something we know, but we're seeing it in a new light. I just think that would be so cool. And I hope that whatever Ubisoft are doing, whether it's Rayman 1, 2, 3, or whatever, whichever game they're remaking, I hope it's not a one-to-one remake. I hope we're getting like a new version, a new iteration of whatever game they choose to do. You know, like take like Crash Bandicoot the Insane Trilogy. It's great. Obviously, we all agree that it's a ton of fun, blah blah blah. But it is the same. It is a one-to-one remake. basically because the original Crash Bandicoot is old, you can't really play it on modern hardware. Admittedly, you can't really play Rayman 1, 2 or 3 on modern hardware, but just imagine if the game we get is new and it's not just the same. I just want a fresh experience, is what I'm saying, and I think a 3D remake of Rayman 1, I would take it. While I've got you here, I'm going to ask you very kindly to click the subscribe button, like the video, and if you want to support the channel, you can become a member down below. There are perks, so it's a win-win for everybody. That's all I got. But yeah, like I've mentioned, there are a lot of pros to Rayman 1 getting remake. Obviously, seeing everything in a new light is wonderful. Quality of life stuff, you know, being able to zoom out maybe, so you can see a bit more, have a bit closer, a bit more of an idea of where the cages are. But also other quality of life things, you know, difficulty could be toned down a little bit, but then again, does that piss people off? Who knows? Some of the cons, if they were to remake Rayman 1, I just want to balance it out a little bit, is it's such a unique game visually, I don't want to see that ruined, you know? Like, I don't want to see Rayman 1, but it looks a bit worse. I'm not saying it would necessarily look worse, and I think Ubisoft absolutely, with the Rayman franchise, especially given that the Prince of Persia The Lost Crown team, some of those developers are now working on this Rayman project, like that's fine by me. I'm sure they can create something good, but Rayman 1's got such a distinct, such a unique, such a wonderful art style. Do we risk trying that again and it potentially being worse? Because realistically, I don't think Rayman 1 could look any better, whatever they do to it. But we'll see. Or we won't see. It might not be Rayman 1 after all. Like I say, I've got my opinions and I've got my theories. That's not for right now. Maybe that's another video. But yeah, I think there's a lot of pros. A couple more cons for Rayman 1. Just the business side of things. The game is quite old, and while it is the first in the series, you know, remaking the first in a series does help to attract new fans. Better certainly than remaking a 2 or a 3, because then new people are going to go, oh, sure, it's a remake of maybe the best one, but I've not played the first one, can I jump into this? It's a bit harder to attract new fans. Does a 30-year-old game famous for being really difficult and really dated, does that, even remade, does that attract new people? I would hope so, but there is a very solid chance it wouldn't, because then what you have to do is change so much of it to make it appealing to new fans that you might alienate old fans. Can you realistically remake Rayman 1? Keep everybody happy and benefit financially. I'm just saying, from a business perspective, they clearly want this game to do well, otherwise they wouldn't be holding Rayman 4 on the success of the remake. So would Rayman 1 be the sensiblest option? I don't know. If they did remake Rayman 1 and it was, let's say, 2.5D, so it's still 2D, but everything's 3D, so it looks new, I would definitely like to see more bonus levels, more fun in that regard, because Rayman 1 is quite linear. Yeah, you can go back into the levels, and yeah, there are little bonus segments with the magician, but Rayman 1 is so stunning, and there are so many assets and so many gameplay mechanics. I could just imagine like an obstacle course, just a random obstacle course bonus level in Rayman 1. I think that would be so cool. I think new worlds would also be fantastic. I know if you're doing a remake you want it to be accurate, but I'd love to see new stuff added, because it has been 30 years. 30 years. Let's get some more levels, you know? Of course we do have the thing of Rayman Redemption, like Callum mentioned, basically perfecting Rayman 1. So if it was a 2D remake and it was a very similar art style, they might struggle a bit to compete with that. Obviously, the vast majority of people may not know about a fan remake, but the hardcore fans, the ones that are going to be pushing the narrative of is this a good remake or not, are probably going to be comparing it to Rayman Redemption. So I don't know what I'd like to see. It's a really tricky one, so be sure, please, to let me know in the comments below what you want to see from a Rayman 1 remake if that were to be the one they remake, and what you wouldn't like to see. What would disappoint you? Let me know in the comments. Let's have a discussion about it. Let's get going. Everyone reply to each other. I really want to know, because I know this sounds silly. It's been a year since we've known there's a remake coming, and I've not really chatted to anyone or seen anyone say exactly what they want to see, other than I want it to be this game, I want it to be this game. And the more I think about it, I could imagine any of the 7 biggest Rayman games being remade, and I could have a huge list of things I want to see from it. Like I've always said, Rayman 2 being remade would be cool, but that's because I love Rayman 2. I don't actually have a ton of things I would want them to do other than just make it look modern. Whereas you take something like Rayman M or Rayman Raving Rabbids or Rayman Origins and Legends, the ones that are less in the conversation, I can think of things I want to see. Like, I love the time trials from Origins. I want to see more of that. I want to see Origins maybe become a big interconnected world, so all the levels in this world are actually one big long one with more checkpoints, so it's kind of, I don't know, more like I said, interconnected. I'd like to see Origins have a story. I'm going to stop talking about Origins. I'm going to spoil the Origins video. But yeah, I want to see everyone's pros and cons, everyone's wishes and unwishes for each Rayman game. This is the place to share your Rayman 1 wishes and unwishes. If I've missed something that you're into, let me know in the comments. If I've said something you fundamentally disagree with, that's cool too. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, just as a closing thought, I think a Rayman 1 remake would be cool, whether it was 2D, 2.5D or 3D. Likeliness-wise, again, that's really not for this video, but I definitely think it's possible. I don't think it's the most likely necessarily, and there's a couple of little tidbits here and there, like the leaks of them having cancelled a Rayman 1 remake a few years ago, that just sort of, in my mind, I've been wondering, would they now decide to do that? Maybe they would. Maybe their plan in 2021 was a bad plan and they've got a better idea this time. I don't know though. I think it is possible. And if they did do it, I would love to see it. But to be honest, I could say that for all 7 of these videos. Whatever they do, I can't wait to see it. If you are Ubisoft and you're watching this, that would be incredibly cool. I have to assume at some point someone from Ubisoft has seen at least one of my videos. And if you're making a Rayman game, you want to see fans' pros and cons, I feel like there's a chance that you might see these, and if you do see them, just know that whatever you're making, as long as it's creative and fun, I'm happy. Though you can tell me what you're making if you want, and like send me early copies, please. I'll be nice about it, even if it's shit. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I've got to say. Be sure to tune in for the Rayman 2, 3, M, Raving Rabbids, Origins and Legends videos, possibly not quite in that order, I want to do them in release order, and see what my thoughts are, and the pros and cons, and opens up a place for you to give your pros and cons as well. I keep talking anyway, see you later.